You know, new hair, chat, new hair, man. But yeah, que lo que, man. It's your boy back with another video. Yasurski. We're gonna be watching 5 disturbing crimes caught on Google Street. Let's get into this video, man. Let's get into this, man.
You know what's smart?
In October 2024,
Chat, let me know if y'all fucking with the new hair or not,
captured
man.
what
I'm
looked
lucky.
like the aftermath
I'm lucky
of a
fucking.
horrific
I'm
crime
fucking
in
with
the
it,
small
y'all. No
Spanish
cap.
town of Tahueco. It captured a man loading a large white bag into the trunk of his car. Now, this easily could have had an innocent explanation. However, many noted that the bag's shape looked a lot like
Yo,
a
that
human
does
body.
look.
And
That
unfortunately,
does look like a human, man. These the legs. This the head, man. And then we got some ass cheeks, man. Why they zooming in on that, man? Yo,
that
hey,
is
yo,
exactly what
man.
it turned out to be.
Hey, yo.
The bag contained the remains of a 32-year-old Cuban man named
Well,
Jorge
well,
Luis
well.
Perez. He had gone missing in
Know what
November
they say.
2023 after sending a message to his family saying he was leaving Soria, the place he had lived, with a girl he had met, and that he would no longer be using that phone. One of his cousins found this highly suspicious and reported his disappearance to the police.
Oh, wait, he
However,
went
despite the
missing.
investigators' best efforts, they were unable
Oh, my bad, Jack. My bad.
to find any
My
clues
bad, y'all.
that could help them find Jorge. There were no witnesses or any surveillance footage that could point them in the right direction. So the case went cold for months.
Damn, Jorge not black though. Jorge, she's like, Papi, how you know I'm Dominican? They're gonna get
Or at least until
That's him,
the
bro.
investigators
He's
came
Dominican,
across the
not
Google
black.
Street View images in November 2024. Coincidentally, the Street View car had also captured the same man carrying the white plastic bag in a wheelbarrow on the way
Yo.
to his car. These images proved to be the
How, like, does the guy taking the pictures, the Google card doesn't know?
piece
Like,
in solving the mystery of Jorge's
what
disappearance.
the fuck, man?
They were able to narrow down
It's
the
crazy,
list of
bro,
potential
crazy.
suspects by tracing the vehicle back to its owner, a 48-year-old Tahueco resident named Manuel Isla Gallardo, who worked at the town
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, he does look like he'd do that for
hall
fun.
in the neighboring town. However, Manuel had no prior history of violence or any other illegal activity, making it difficult for the authorities
Hey, he
to
just
present
hasn't got
him with
caught
any
yet, that's
solid
why.
evidence. But after tapping his phone and trailing him for a couple of weeks, the investigators uncovered the connection they were looking for. He was in a relationship with Jorge's partner, and as
Yup.
later investigation would reveal, Manuel and this partner kidnapped and later killed Jorge because of this love triangle. They
Yup.
likely would have gotten away with it as well, if not for the Street View images, a discovery that was nothing short of a
That's
miracle.
crazy,
You
dude.
see, the town of Tahueco has fewer than 50 residents, so there were no eyewitnesses to Manuel putting Jorge in his car. Additionally, the Google Street View
What?
car just so happened to be driving through Tahueco for the first time in 15 years. Both Manuel and his partner were arrested on November 11th after investigators found more evidence linking them to Jorge's disappearance in their home. Their arrest also led to the discovery of Jorge's remains in a cemetery about 15 minutes from where the Google Street View images were captured, finally bringing closure to his tragic case.
R.I.P. man, that's
In
crazy.
December 2018, the Brisbane Police Department in Australia received a missing person report regarding 46-year-old Priscilla Bruton. She was an American beauty queen who moved to Australia with her daughter back in 2013 to start a new life. Things were going well for Priscilla. However, during the latter half of 2018, she stopped posting on social media and completely cut off communication with her friends and family back in the US.
What the heck?
After months of silence, one of her friends contacted the police, sparking an investigation into her disappearance. But she was nowhere to be found. She was last seen at the house of her boyfriend, Mark Waden, who she met during a Zumba class in 2017. However, when questioned, Mark claimed that they had actually broken up back in June 2018. He also suggested that she went missing on purpose to avoid immigration, since she was apparently overstaying her visa by that point. But
Damn.
this wasn't enough to convince the investigators of his innocence, as they also found Priscilla's car just 11 miles from his home. With no other leads, police began to consider the possibility of a potential homicide, and that's where they made a grim discovery. Priscilla was, without a doubt, dead. Even more shockingly, she was buried in Mark's front yard. Cadaver dogs helped pinpoint her exact burial location near the home's entrance, prompting an excavation to recover her remains.
In the front yard is crazy,
June
man.
8th, 2019. However, while the investigators did find some evidence from the dig site, most of the body was completely missing, which didn't seem to make any sense. As it turned out, Mark caught wind of the upcoming excavation in May, hired a construction crew to dig up the area with Priscilla's remains, and transported it to an unknown location with a trailer. What he didn't know, however, was that his crime had been captured on camera long before the investigation ever began. In August 2018, a Google Street View car...
No way, bro. This is like so...
And as
Bro, like, the chances of this happening is so little, man. And it happens, which is crazy, man.
In front of his property, it captured what appears to be the very grave he dug for Priscilla, right where she was eventually buried. It even showed the trailer he would later use to hide the evidence. This, combined with testimonies from neighbors who saw him digging in the yard at unusual hours, made it impossible for him to play dumb and get away with his crime. He was finally arrested on the 13th of June and is currently awaiting sentencing while under house arrest.
And the crazy part is, man, that he's on house arrest. He's not even in jail, which is crazy, after killing someone.
Among the many new snapshots were the pictures of this rather unassuming empty lot with bags of trash scattered around the overgrown plants. However, those trash bags concealed a horror beyond what anyone in that neighborhood could have imagined. The truth came to light when the local police investigated a string of disappearances in the area and noticed a few similarities. All of the missing individuals were women. They were all young, and most importantly, they had all received calls and messages from the same woman before their disappearance, 28-year-old Patricia Martinez. She lived in a house just 100 meters away from that empty lot with her 30-year-old husband, Juan Carlos Hernandez.
Chill, no one's shot, man. Everyone's beautiful. Everyone's beautiful.
Food,
yeah, man, yeah.
Anything they could right outside their home. On the surface, they appeared to be a perfectly normal couple. But despite their seemingly ordinary lives, authorities kept an eye on them for weeks, suspecting that there was much more going on behind closed doors. Then, on the 4th of October, investigators saw the two walking outside with a stroller. They suspected the stroller was carrying the 2-month-old daughter of a missing woman who had vanished together.
That's crazy of a baby, man. Like, that's just fucked up, dude. Like, that's crazy, man. A little baby, bro.
With her mother a month prior. Hoping to prevent any harm to the baby, the investigators moved in and apprehended both Patricia and Juan. However, when they inspected the stroller, its contents left them in disbelief. Instead of a live child, it contained the dismembered remains of a woman. The couple was headed to the empty lot near their home to dispose of the evidence of their horrific crime. The couple was headed to the empty lot. It contained its contents left them in disbelief. Instead of a live child, it contained the dismembered remains of a woman.
No way, a woman.
The empty lot near their home to dispose of the evidence of their horrific crime. But this was
crazy,
only the tip
bro.
of the iceberg. As the cops searched their home, they discovered dozens of dismembered human remains stored in their fridge, wrapped in plastic bags, and some encased in cement. The cement bags,
like, what do they do with that,
the
man?
ones that were scattered throughout the
Crazy,
empty lot
man,
seen on
crazy.
Google Street View. Soon after their arrest, Juan admitted to everything and revealed the true extent of their gruesome crimes. According to his statements, the two had killed almost 28 women since 2012.
28? Holy, they went on a killing spree. I'm not gonna lie, bro. They had kill streaks and everything, bro.
Including their neighbor's 13-year-old daughter. They would lure poor, vulnerable women with the promise of
Shit is crazy, man.
clothes and
Hey, you guys need to stay safe, man. Stay safe out there, man.
Unspeakable ways and discarding their remains in plastic bags or cement. And if that wasn't bad enough, Patricia also admitted to cooking and cannibalizing parts of their victims, as well as feeding them to their dogs. However, the most shocking part of it all was Juan's complete lack of remorse, with him boldly declaring his hatred of women and vowing to do the same again if he was ever given the chance.
Prefiero que mis perritos coman carne de esas mujeres a que ellas sigan respirando mi oxígeno. ¿Y me entiendes lo que la tierra?
Yo, what is he on about, bro?
Las que dejan todas las perritos. Y divirtiéndome.
The only silver lining in this
He's
entire
having
case
fun
is
while
that the
killing
baby
women?
was unharmed.
Yeah, bro,
They
he's
actually
crazy,
sold
bro.
it to
He's
another
crazy,
couple
bro.
for 15,000 pesos, or about $770. These buyers were later arrested and the baby was rescued safely. As for Juan and Patricia, they were sentenced to nearly 350 years behind bars, where they remain to this day.
Good. Good, man. I mean, I don't wish anything on anyone, but
Wisconsin, Google Street View
you went on a
posted
killing
top
spree, man.
clues
Like,
and
wow.
tape surrounding this residence. On October 16th, 2018, this Street View car captured the aftermath of one of the most monstrous crimes in Wisconsin's recent history. It happened a day earlier when the 21-year-old Jake Thomas Patterson knocked on the Kloss residence at around 12:50 a.m. and claimed to be a cop. James Kloss came to the door and demanded to see Jake's badge before opening the door. In a fit of rage, Jake raised the shotgun he'd brought with him and shot James through the door. He then fired another shot to break the lock and enter the house. Meanwhile, Denise Kloss locked herself and her 13-year-old daughter Jamie in the bathroom and made this disturbing 911 call.
County 911, where's your somebody I just want from? Hello?
Officers rushed to the scene, but unfortunately it was already too late. Not long after the 911 call, Jake shot down the bathroom door as well and opened fire on Denise. By the time the officers arrived, both James and Denise were already dead. However, the more urgent concern was Jamie, who was nowhere to be found. It didn't take long for officers to realize that Jamie had been taken by Jake. In fact, one of the responding officers had unknowingly passed Jake's fleeing car while rushing to the Kloss residence. As later investigation would reveal, Jake had developed a sick infatuation with Jamie after seeing her get off her school bus, and kidnapping her was his
Hey,
primary
yo,
motive.
what?
He took her to his cabin about 80 miles away from her home and locked her in one of the rooms. And while the investigators started searching for Jamie almost immediately, they had nothing that could lead them in her direction. The FBI even put out a nationwide missing person report and offered a $25,000 reward for any information that could lead to Jamie's rescue. Unfortunately, none of this led to anything substantial, and the hope of finding her alive kept declining with each passing day. But then, on January 10th, 2019, the Wisconsin Police Department received the call they never expected.
Douglas County 911. Hi. I have a young lady at my house right now, and she says her name is Jamie Kloss.
As it turned out, Jamie escaped Jake's cabin 88 days after her disappearance and
No
asked for
way.
help from one of his elderly neighbors.
How did she come up upon your cabin? I was walking my dog, and we were on the phone. She was walking towards me, crying, saying, "You gotta help me, you gotta help me."
She pulled off this remarkable escape by carefully studying
Bro, but
Jake's
even then, like, letting someone in your house is kind of like scary too, cause you don't know if they can be capping, man. So you gotta like lock in and just like check your surroundings and all that, man. Peep
How
game.
long he was gone, waiting patiently
Just
until
to
the
make
perfect
sure y'all
opportunity
stay safe
to
though. You
leave.
feel me? Stay
After
safe.
getting in contact with the police, she told them everything she knew about her kidnapper, resulting in Jake getting identified and arrested following a traffic stop. Jake stood
Yeah.
trial on May 24, 2019. He pleaded guilty to all charges and was given 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole, plus 40 additional years in prison.
Damn.
In February 2011, a Google Street View car captured what looked like an abduction in progress in Sao Paulo, Brazil. It shows a
Brazil,
grown
man.
man saying something to a woman while she's trying to get away,
Brazil.
while a car with an open trunk is parked nearby. The next slide shows the man restraining the woman, while we can also see another man strangely sitting in the car's trunk.
Yo.
And the next slide provides a clear view of the scene, showing the man in the white shirt seemingly trying to force the woman while she bites his hand in what looks like an attempt to break free. However, the final slide is even more unsettling as it shows the parked car driving away with neither the woman nor the man in the white shirt visible anywhere. Unfortunately, despite the alarming circumstances shown in these snapshots, I couldn't find any additional information about the alleged kidnapping. No news articles, missing person reports, or criminal investigation records. It's almost as if the crime never happened, which, given the situation, isn't entirely out of the realm of possibility. There's a good chance that this disturbing scene has a perfectly innocent explanation. Maybe the white shirt man and the woman know each other, and instead of an attempted abduction, he's simply trying to tickle her. This would explain why he has a cheerful, almost smug grin in one of the snapshots.
That is true,
and
but
why
it
she's holding onto her cigarette while
could
trying
go
to free
both
herself from a
sides.
presumably dangerous situation. But even with all that in mind, the possibility that this was a real crime that just flew under the authorities' radar is also just as possible. The lack of reports and news articles doesn't necessarily mean nothing happened. It could just as easily point to a bigger systemic issue with bribery, corruption, and cover-ups that allow serious crimes to stay hidden in plain sight. Curiously, Google has since removed the most ominous snapshot from Street View for some unknown reason. Unfortunately, it's been over 14 years since these images were captured, and without any new evidence or leads, this case likely will forever remain a mystery.
Hey man, if you did enjoy that video, make sure you like and subscribe, and check out my Twitch, man. I do be streaming on there, and yeah, just check it out, man.